What if the thing that annoys you most about someone is the thing you secretly wish you had? That's the secret to understanding Squidward Tentacles. We're about to break down why Squidward's unhappiness isn't a character flaw. It's a tragedy of a soul trapped in a life that was never meant to be his. So here's the thing about Squidward. Everyone assumes he's just a grumpy guy who hates his job, and sure, that's part of it. But that's like saying Michelangelo was upset because he had a bad chisel. The real issue runs way deeper. Squidward is an artist, a genuine, talented, creative force, and he's been forced to spend his entire existence working as a cashier at the Krusty Krab, living between SpongeBob SquarePants and Patrick Star, two of the most chaotic, unpredictable forces in Bikini Bottom. That's not just annoying. That's psychological warfare on a guy whose entire being is wired for order refinement and self-expression. Here's what kills us about watching Squidward suffer. He's not actually angry at SpongeBob for being who he is. He's angry at SpongeBob for having the freedom to be exactly who he is without apology. Think about it. SpongeBob wakes up every single day, throws on his sponge self, and just exists. He's loud, goofy, optimistic, and he owns every single second of it. Meanwhile, Squidward is contorting himself into the shape of what a normal adult is supposed to be: professional, composed, dismissive of childish things, and it's eating him alive from the inside out. He's basically built his entire personality around being superior to SpongeBob just to maintain the illusion that his mundane existence is actually a choice that he's better than madness, and that maturity is somehow more valid than joy. The problem is, artists aren't designed for mundanity. This is a psychological and developmental truth that we've known for centuries. Free spirits, creative souls, people whose minds naturally wander into abstract territories. They need space to breathe, room to create, permission to be unconventional. When you force someone like that into a box, a job that demands repetition, a schedule that demands conformity, a social hierarchy that demands they be normal, you're essentially asking them to live a life that contradicts their fundamental nature. It's like asking a bird to be satisfied living in a cage, no matter how comfortable you make the cage. The bird was built to fly, and no amount of nice furniture changes that. Look at Band Geeks, Season 2, Episode 15. This is the episode where you see Squidward's artistic dreams collide head-on with his reality. He gets one chance, one single opportunity to conduct an actual marching band to pursue something he genuinely cares about. And it's with Squilliam, his wealthy rival from high school, who represents everything Squidward wishes he could have been if he hadn't been trapped in the monotony of his own life. For one glorious moment, Squidward thinks he's about to prove that his life has meaning, that his artistic pursuits matter, that he's not just a washed-up shell of a guy who screws up orders at a burger restaurant. The band performs Sweet Victory, and Squidward finally wins. He finally beats Squilliam. He finally gets to stand on the stage and feel like his artistic vision meant something. But here's the tragedy. That moment doesn't save him. It doesn't fundamentally change anything about his existence. The next day, he's still back at the Krusty Krab. He's still surrounded by SpongeBob and Patrick. He's still living between chaos and conformity, never quite fitting into either world. Because you see, Squidward's problem isn't that he can't achieve things. His problem is that his entire structure of society has decided that the things he's good at, art, music, subtlety, sophistication, are luxuries, not necessities. They're hobbies. They're side projects for people who have real jobs. Squidward had to become a cashier because rent exists, and art doesn't pay bills, and that's just how the world works. Except for the guy who gets to live every day being himself. Except for SpongeBob. Now let's talk about Squidville Season 2, Episode 6. This episode is absolutely ground zero for understanding Squidward's entire problem. Squidward finally escapes. He moves to a community full of folks like him, all of them sophisticated. All of them into art and refinement and normal adult things. This is supposed to be his paradise, right? This is what he's been dreaming about. A world where he's not the weird one for wanting to play clarinet, where he's not surrounded by childish nonsense, where everyone just gets it. And for a moment, it is paradise. He plays clarinet, he does yoga, he goes biking, he has lunch with neighbors who appreciate art instead of making fun of him for it. And then something incredible happens. He gets bored. Within days, Squidward, the guy who has spent literally his entire life complaining about SpongeBob's chaos, finds himself in a perfectly ordered, perfectly normal, perfectly boring community, and it's suffocating him. He finds a reef blower, the exact same tool that destroyed his house when SpongeBob and Patrick were using it, and he starts playing with it. He starts being exactly like SpongeBob and Patrick, and his neighbors absolutely lose their mind. They gang up on him. They reject him. They're like, no, you're one of us. You're supposed to be normal. You're supposed to be like us. That scene is the entire point wrapped into one perfect moment. Squidward isn't actually normal. He never was. He just convinces himself that he is because being the weirdo is painful and being superior feels better. But underneath, he's a free spirit. He's a creative soul. He's the same chaotic force that he judges SpongeBob for, except Squidward spends all his energy pretending he's not, while simultaneously resenting SpongeBob for not pretending. By the end of Squidville, Squidward gets blown out of the community by his own reef blower, literally ejected, because his true nature was too much for a world built on artificial order. And he goes right back to Bikini Bottom, back to the Krusty Krab, back to SpongeBob. Here's what the show is actually telling us: Squidward will never be happy, because happiness for him requires something he's not willing to give up, which is his sense of superiority. He wants to express himself like SpongeBob does. He wants to be free and chaotic and unrestrained. But to do that, he'd have to admit that SpongeBob has been right all along. He'd have to swallow his pride and accept that being childish, being goofy, being ridiculous isn't actually worse than being miserable and sophisticated. He'd have to let go of the entire identity he's built around being better than the people around him. And that's a price Squidward isn't willing to pay. Artists trapped in mundane lives face this exact impossible choice every single day. They can either pursue their passion and risk financial instability, social rejection, and being seen as unrealistic or impractical, or they can pursue stability, normalcy, and social acceptance, knowing that they're slowly dying inside, suffocating under the weight of a life that was never meant for them. Most choose the latter because survival is important. Most become Squidward. They build walls of superiority and cynicism around their creative selves, telling everyone that art is frivolous, that their job is respectable, that they're not bitter about the life they chose, they're just realistic. It's not true. It's just what they say to make the pain more bearable. The only way Squidward becomes happy is if he does the one thing he's absolutely incapable of doing. He'd have to admit defeat. He'd have to look at SpongeBob and say, "You won. You figured out how to be alive in a way that I never could. You figured out how to be yourself without apologizing for it, and I've spent my entire existence judging you for it because I was too afraid to do the same thing." And Squidward will never say that. So he'll stay bitter. He'll stay at the Krusty Krab. He'll play his clarinet in his house alone, where nobody can call him childish for it. And every single day, he'll wake up and resent SpongeBob just a little bit more for the simple crime of being happy. Squidward's unhappiness isn't random. It's the direct result of a life lived in opposition to his own nature, all because he'd rather be miserable and superior than free and vulnerable. The tragedy is that the cure for his suffering has been right next to him the entire time: SpongeBob. He just has to be willing to admit it. And based on everything we've seen across nearly 2 decades of the show, Squidward will never be willing to do that, which means he'll never truly be happy. That's the real tragedy of Squidward Tentacles. If you made it all the way through Squidward's epic identity meltdown, hit that subscribe button and click on the next video, because where else can you get free therapy, cartoon crisis management, and existential laughs all in one place?